All right. It is August the 14th, 2025. Here with Evan, Heather, the back of John's head. Hey, John. All right, everybody. Coral Spawn trip to the Flower Garden Banks here. This was a 4-day trip. This was the arrival day was August 14th. We arrived at 7 p.m., boarded the vessel, got our safety briefing. That's what's happening here. The captain's briefing everybody on abandoned ship protocol, so on and so forth. Again, we arrived at the vessel at 7 p.m., boarded, got through all the semantics, and we're going to travel all night, wake up in the morning, and start dive day 1. This is the start of dive day 1, dive number 1. We're going to do 5 dives on this first day. We are at West Bank, buoy number 2. This is Heather here with her full face. I've got my full face. We have comms where we can communicate underwater together. Unfortunately, my camera did not record this dive. Probably my fault. Luckily, my brother had his action camera going, and he kind of saved the day by recording this dive number 1 here. So this will be his footage I'm showing. This is going to be a rock beauty that I'm pointing out here to the left. See pretty good solid coral coverage on bottom here. Pretty good sand patch. So we're swimming around here in the distance. You see a very large dog snapper. I would absolutely shoot and eat that guy. That's what I'm saying here is he would be really good, and he's a really big fish. He's probably every bit of 40 pounds. But dog snapper, big white patch on his cheek. Those are probably Creole wrasse in the distance there. The ones up higher are probably barracuda. So about here, I hear Heather in my comms saying, "Manta, manta, manta." And I look up when I hear her say that, and here comes a manta right in front of us. I've seen several mantas, never been in the water with one. So this was pretty cool to encounter one on dive number 1 of the trip. Kind of made the entire trip worth it on dive 1 right off the bat here. So again, Evan's saving the day here, swimming in with his camera. He gets a really good close-up of this manta. Pretty awesome. Money shot, right? Again, made the whole trip worth it just seeing that manta on the first dive here. Of course, everybody's in a good mood now. We saw that manta. Everybody else went a different direction. We kind of went a different way than the crowd, and I think we were the only ones that saw the manta on this dive, which was pretty cool. Moving around the sand patch here, big queen conch on the bottom. Looks pretty, the shell looks pretty old. Did have a conch in it. Here's a rainbow parrotfish. These guys are pretty common here on the reef. They tend to eat the coral, and that's what creates all the sand as I'm pooping it out. Lionfish here. I've seen a few lionfish on this trip. They do lionfish derbies out here just to remove them from the banks on a regular basis. Here's Heather, myself, and Garrett on our safety stop, kind of ending the dive. Dive 1 coming to a close here. We're going to sit for 3 minutes, off-gas a little extra nitrogen just to be safe, and hit the surface. Then recover everybody into the boat. Once everybody gets on board, short surface interval, maybe an hour and a half, and then we're right back in the water again. Same location for this one, buoy 2 on West Bank. Starting off, making sure everybody's okay, and heading on down. A lot of moon jellyfish. It's kind of like a minefield getting down here in the top 20 feet of water. There were moon jellyfish pretty much all over the place. We almost took a couple to the face, which would be a little bit unpleasant. We prefer not to do that, but a lot of jellyfish dodging like this one coming here. Those are moon jellies. They won't do any major damage to you, but you sure won't enjoy it. Right, but again, top 20 feet of water, those were pretty thick. The current was blasting pretty good, so those things are just coming right by you every few seconds when you're up near the surface. So kind of rush down the line here, kind of skip forward ahead in the video kind of fast. Coming down, I'm pointing at a couple of file fish. You can barely make them out in the video. I didn't include it a little bit slower because they're they swam away anyway. Again, coming down, not much sand here. It's all solid coral. Saying, let's go this way. The first dive, we went away from the small yellow line that the boat laid out. Everybody else tends to follow that line on the first dive. We went the opposite way, and that's why we saw the manta. So dive 2, everybody else will go somewhere else. Now we're going to go ahead and go down the line that everybody followed on dive 1, since it's still there and since nobody else is actually going there. So there's a blue tang and a rock beauty up underneath the rocks there. Again, another rainbow parrotfish. These are blue chromis. That bright blue color kind of gives them away. Big barrel sponge off to the left there. Barracuda. Visibility's really, really good. 78 feet, 20-something minutes remaining. There's that big dog snapper again. Evan agrees, yes. That's a very big snapper. Again, he's not very scared of us. He's just kind of moving out of our way. I'm not a coral expert. I can't identify all this stuff. Obviously, there's brain coral. There's plate coral, all kinds of other corals here. So I know this is the edge of this brain coral. I just kind of want to point this out to Evan here. Kind of let everybody catch up to me. Just kind of point out here, hey, this is where parrotfish come swimming in. They come eat on the edges of this coral to get to the polyps inside. Big coral head out in the distance here. See a bunch of these Creole wrasse in the distance. 88 feet, 19 minutes of bottom time remaining. So these kind of bigger bright blue fish up here, these are all Creole wrasse. There are some darker ones that are Creole fish. There is a difference. Again, the kind of the blue, those bright blue ones, all of those are Creole wrasse. That's what the majority of the fish you see here are. A bunch of Creole wrasse. And the Creole fish are these darker ones you kind of see in the middle of the screen here. That one right there. Creole fish and Creole wrasse kind of hanging out together. Some star coral, plate coral. We've swam out to the end of this line. This is kind of the drop off, goes down into some deeper water here. So this is kind of the end of the line. We're going to turn around. We're going to hit just over 100 feet on depth here. Turn around and start heading back here in just a minute. Big school of barjacks here coming up to me. That line running down their back and into the lower lobe of the tail. And then that little bit of blue on their back tells me those are barjacks. Again, Creole wrasse. Just tons and tons of Creole wrasse. I'm not saying we're going down there. I'm just thinking out loud with my hands. There's a blackjack. Small blackjack. I was just pointing out that has a steep drop off. It looked like I was trying to signal we're going that direction, but we're not. Again, we're turning around at this point, headed back. We're at 98 feet, 12 minutes time remaining. This dive has been underwater for 9 minutes elapsed time so far. So head back to the line here. Air doesn't last that long down here. It's at around 70 feet. Don't get much time underwater, but ending that dive, coming back up toward the safety stop, a Horseye Jack decided to come up and get his 15 minutes of fame. Comes around Garrett here. Very curious fish. He's got a little bit of size to him, so he's not too concerned about us eating him. So he's pretty brave. He's going to come in, buzz us here. Big giant black eye and those dark scoots right in front of the tail kind of identify this as a Horseye Jack. These guys usually school up in very, very large numbers. During this trip, I do have some footage of these guys schooled up in a pretty big school. So here's Evan's footage of it coming in, just giving him a buzzing the tower here. Little remora attached to him. That was pretty cool to see on the way up here. Again, these moon jellies coming in like somebody's dropping bombs on you. Again, the current's carrying them, so they're kind of hard to avoid. Coming up to the surface, trying not to get tangled in these lines. Of course, the Jack's still buzzing us here. He ain't going to let it go. But come up here, try to get under these lines, try not to get tangled in them. You get on the blue line tied to the ladder. Once you get onto this blue line, you can get your fins off. Put them on your forearms. Pull yourself up to the ladder. Got to kind of get your timing right with the waves. When the wave goes down, you kind of get over the top of the ladder and plant your feet on it. And when it comes back up, it kind of lifts you up out of the water. Then you start walking up the ladder. Right, so that ends dive 2. Going into dive 3, we're still on West Bank, but we moved to buoy 5. So same location, same bank, different buoy. We're probably several hundred yards from where we were before, so completely different area to dive down here. Very similar looking as far as the coral coverage. There's some, I'm not sure what kind of coral that is. Looks kind of like popcorn, pretty unique looking. Some old brain coral here. Looks like some of this is dead coral and the new coral's growing on top of the old dead coral. It's pretty much what all this is. So here's a parrotfish feeding. See him just kind of crunching on the coral here. He's eating all the hard stuff with the soft stuff in it. He'll digest the soft stuff and poop the shell out, which will become the sand on the bottom eventually, basically. All the white spots are where parrotfish have eaten away at the coral. Barracuda, these are pretty common on the trip. We saw quite a few barracuda. Again, they're not shy either. This is a great barracuda. This is kind of a smaller one here. Again, some of these bigger fish, they're not really that scared. They just move out of your way. This is a juvenile spotted drum. The video's not great. He's really, really small. He's maybe an inch. It's a juvenile spotted drum. There will be an adult later on in this video series here. More Creole wrasse. These are kind of smaller juveniles. These bigger, darker ones are Creole fish mixed in with the juvenile Creole wrasse. Big, giant coral head. Bunch of Creole fish hanging out on top of it here. Again, visibility is really, really good. You can see pretty far. I'm going to pan a 360 here. Not much sand. Mostly coral here. Again, there goes a barracuda. There's a small trunk fish. Again, he's swimming away. I'm not really going to chase him down, but pretty cool to see the little trunk fish. Again, there are Creole wrasse pretty much everywhere you look here. I don't know if this was some kind of spawning aggregation or what, but quite a few of them. Getting into a little bit of crevices here. You can see the line back up to the boat, off to the right. A couple of blue tangs, also known as surgeonfish or doctor fish. Most commonly known as blue tangs. Good coral here. This is a good star coral. The polyps are really large, so they're pretty cool to look at. The polyps are not out in the daytime. The polyps are generally pulled down inside and they come out at night. That's what the night dive will be for, is to see the polyps do anything. Again, this coral is built on coral. You can see way up underneath there, lots of space underneath. There's actually areas where I wouldn't recommend it, but you could literally fit your body up underneath and swim underneath it. A couple of bluehead wrasse in this harem of females. The yellow ones were the females. Again, the barracuda, a couple of blue tangs. What I'm pointing at here is a cowfish. You can tell by the little horns over his eyeballs. Pretty cool to see him. Actually, that was kind of a big one. Moving on here, got a Creole fish, yellowtail damsel, the blue one with the yellow tail. We'll see that again here in a minute. It's got a bunch of little blue spots as well. Really beautiful damsel. Those things, there's a tricolor damsel, the white, black, and yellow in here. All these damsels, they're very striking and beautiful when they're small, but as they get bigger, they tend to get kind of flat colored and kind of dullish brown. Right? Brown chromis, a bunch of other regulars here. Parrotfish. Black Durgon, another blue tang there. Of course, another lionfish. These guys are super common on the bank here. Oh, he didn't like that. Alright, ending this dive, come up to the safety stop. 3 minutes of sitting here doing nothing, so everybody tends to get a little bit silly. Alright, just waiting our 3 minutes out to go ahead and surface. Again, we're dodging the jellies the entire time here, but get through the safety stop, surface, put a fresh bottle on, and we're going to do buoy 5 again. This is dive number 4. There will be a dive number 5, the next dive. That will be a night dive. So this dive, I will be looking around and planning where are we going when we get down here on the night dive, because we will not be able to see anything from the rope once we get down there. So we got to kind of figure that out now. Generally, I'll head toward a sand patch. But Heather's in the water. There's Evan in the water. We're all kind of jumping off here in the order we're going to be on the line. Coming in last here is Garrett. So swim out to this line. This line is tied to the mooring buoy. All right, there's Heather and I on the surface. That's tied to the mooring buoy line, which we'll use to get to the bottom. And here we're at the bottom of the mooring buoy line. Right, so heading out. See that dog snapper again? He's kind of heading under the reef, trying to hide from us. Here's a creel fish kind of resting on the reef. Again, creel fish. A Spanish hogfish, that yellow and blue in there. Another lionfish. A couple of lionfish, I should say. A little bit of a close-up here. Creole wrasse, a little bit more of a close-up of those guys. Brown chromas, again, more Creole wrasse. More Creole wrasse. More brown chromas. Kind of those dull brown ones with the scissor-shaped tail are brown chromas. There's a barracuda here. I thought this might have been a cleaning station, but nothing really going on besides the cuda sitting there. There were a couple of small yellow wrasse here on the sand. Just kind of checking out. I'm not too familiar with what type of wrasse these were, but it was pretty cool just to kind of see these two wrasse hanging out on the sand here. Again, Creole fish and blue tang. That is a stoplight parrotfish. There is that yellow-tailed damsel with this blue spots. Beautiful. Really beautiful when they're younger. Blue chromas, brown chromas. Man, I can't even name them all fast enough here. Brown chromas. Rock beauty and a Creole wrasse. Blue chromas again. Again, I can't even name all the corals here. Again, another rainbow parrotfish. Blue tang. Again, that barracuda. This is a black Durgon. Normally they just look black and white. This is a pretty good close-up. You can see the blue on his forehead. You don't normally even get to notice that because they don't normally get very close. He's not really digging his 15 minutes of fame, though. So again, now we're ending dive 4 here. Coming up, doing our safety stop on the rope. Do our 3 minutes. Surface here. Most of these dives, I cut them off at the ladder, but just to kind of show what happens once you board the vessel. Here's Heather exiting the water. Kind of come up. First person kind of checks in with you. Leave your gear in place till you hit the top up here. Here she's going to pull her mask off her face enough to talk to this other gentleman, let him know what her depth and time for that dive was. He will write it on his slate. She will go sit down at the bench, put her tank back in, and put it right back on for the next dive in about an hour and a half. So the sun sets here. We do our briefing, starting the night dive. Again, West Bank, same buoy, third dive at this location, but now it's in the dark here. Again, the current's blasting pretty good. The big challenge now is that it's very, very dark. You're going to see that here. I'm going to leave a lot of this descent. I'll leave it sped up, but you're gonna kind of see for yourself here quite how dark this is. There is a strobe on the line to mark it. Takes forever for us to get down here, it feels like, and I've even cut some of this down. I've eliminated quite a bit of the descent time here, even though it's sped up. It just took us forever to get to the bottom here. But you have that one beam of light. If it's not in that beam of light, it basically doesn't exist down here. So very, very dark. Can't see anything if it's not directly in your light. So weird thing kind of happened during this dive here. You're about to see it here. Right here. What the heck was that? That something just popped on the screen and vanished. I'm going to do it again here in slow motion. It's going to appear out of nowhere, just like materialize. There it is. Looks kind of like a squid. And then bolts off sideways. Weird. Don't know what that... I still don't know what that was. Noticed it when I was editing the footage here. A little bit creepy, a little bit weird. I still can't really quite explain that one. So anyway, you see how ineffective the lights are down here at night. It's really easy to get lost, get away from that line. If you lose that strobe, you're going to have a really hard time finding your way back to the line, which leads back to the boat. Long spine urchin here at night. These things are out on top of the reef. They do eat the coral. They're out kind of crawling around actively after dark. A lot of the shrimp are out after dark. You're not going to see those really in this video. They're just two little bitty eyeballs. And there's a lionfish. Pretty much all the daytime fish are sitting in crevices trying to sleep and hide, essentially. There's that cowfish again. Again, he probably would prefer not to be lit up right now. Again, this was a coral spawn trip. I'm kind of circling with my light here on a star coral. The purpose of this trip was to see the coral spawn, and it only does that at night. So the purpose for these night dives is get down here and find coral that's spawning. The coral that's in front of us here, this is a siphonophore coming at us here. Looks like a worm, but he's the way he's moving, he has some little ridges on his edges and stuff like that. It doesn't come out very clear on the video here, but that was a little siphonophore. This is a polychaete worm. These guys all come out at night. They're going to get thicker and thicker as the video goes on here. But anyway, back to the coral. This one here looks like it's ready to pop. You can see the gametes inside. It just needs to start spitting them out. That's kind of what we're waiting for. We're camping this coral here, waiting for this thing to spawn. There's kind of a little bit more of a close-up. Again, polychaete worm in the foreground here. Okay, big star coral. Again, it looked like it was ready to go, but never did. It never spit any gametes out. We spent the whole dive sitting there and didn't see anything. Of course, while we're sitting there waiting, we're kind of checking out all these worms and little stuff in the water column. Don't see any of this stuff in the daytime. This stuff would get eaten up immediately if it came out in the daytime. Pretty cool, though. Every one of those little dots is something alive. So again, the coral we were camping here, it didn't really do anything for us, so we started making our way back toward the line. On our way back toward the line, I noticed this one over here is kind of a smoker. The females will put out gametes, which are little packets, little BB size packets into the water, and then some of the other ones will put out the sperm, which is basically just kind of this cloudy milkiness you see coming off of the coral here. So this is one of the corals. The first night dive, we actually got to see the coral spawn here. Of course, everybody's always hoping to see the gametes instead of just the smoker, but I'll take it. It's better than nothing. We did get to see some coral spawning here on the first night. So make our way back to the line. It's kind of hard to keep track of my group here. Again, I've got 3 people to keep track of and myself as far as air supply, where's the boat, all of that. But good night dive here, good trip. Surfacing here, about to get back in the boat. This is going to end day 1. This is going to be video 1 of 3. So this is going to be day 1. There will be a day 2 and a day 3 of videos to follow with a lot more diving coming, a lot more good footage to see here. So appreciate you guys watching my videos, and I hope to see you guys on the next one.